Hello, everybody. I'm here with two shareholders of the company, ticker symbol ENPH, Enphase. And Enphase has had a pretty good run up, even in a crazy macro economy. And so we talked about them back in June. I think it's time for an update on how the company's doing. They've had Q3 earnings, where their trajectory is, and what these two see as big shareholders of Enphase for the future of the company. So hello, Vitaly and Carlos, founders of the Freelancer Finance channel. First question, anyone can take a stab at it. In layman's terms, what is Enphase?
Look
at Carlos. Look how excited he is. Like, I made so much money. I can't wait to brag about this company.
I feel like we've answered that. I feel like it's a money print, but we've answered that ad nauseum, even to your audience. You can put a link right there.
Okay, so for like a 3-second sort of summary for people who are watching this, what is Enphase?
They make micro. The biggest thing is they make the microinverters that convert the DC energy to AC energy on your solar panels, so you can use them in your home. And now they're getting more into batteries, and they acquired Clipper Creek, so they're getting into EV charging. But essentially, if you really consider it that way, they're like a startup, and they're really starting up now in terms of overall market growth, in terms of energy and batteries.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to add, I think we went over this with Carlos a billion times, even on our channel. I hope people do check this out. Even if they don't like us personally, they should listen to some of the discussions we've had with installers and people who know about Enphase and what they're doing internally, like meaning they use the product, they install it, and they're telling us that this is the only product they would ever use. So this is not us telling people that, oh, hey, we love this because it's making us money and we're in the stock. No. The installers are saying we are using this product over every other product because it's more reliable, it's better, they have a better network. They actually also have better answering service, meaning like if you have a problem, they'll pick up the phone within a minute and actually handle your issue. They have a 25-year warranty on their product. Imagine that whatever happens up there in that roof, for 25 years, they will replace it for free. All you got to do is send it back to them. In fact, they send it to you first and then you send it back to them. It's crazy. So this company is... It's the beginning of this explosion that everyone thinks like the run is over. Like they look at a stock price of $300 or $250, whatever it's trading at right now. It doesn't even matter. They think the run is over. If solar is still not 50% of the country, there is nothing over for any of these.
Not even 5% of the country.
Yeah, well, I just did read recently, Carlos, that it was 4% now solar penetration, but that seems a little bit actually higher than when we researched it like a year or two ago when it was like 1%. Right, so did it actually go up an extra 3% in the last?
The 1% was the 1% was you and I calculating how much solar space there was. Like we went through the math and figured out how many
actual routes.
Yeah, but that 1% was our own number. It wasn't necessarily like the official solar penetration number. But it doesn't even matter. The United States, there's a lot more roofs in the entire world. You know what I mean? Like the U.S. is only just one market, and they're a worldwide company. So, okay.
Yeah. The thing is, I hate convincing people to just even look into this company. This is not something you want to miss for a decade. Like, it's literally right now is your time when the market is tanking, and maybe 2023 will be a year where it's sort of heading down. And maybe you want to short the market as Jeremy as Jeremy wants to short.
I know he's your boy. I know he's your boy, but like, oh, dude, you gotta give him. Listen, you gotta hit him up on the text and be like, Enphase, like.
Yeah. He said he wants to short Enphase.
Oh, he has a whole video. We'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, he said it would be the only stock he would short.
Yeah, well, we did a video on that too. That he would short it. But before we go into Jeremy and rip him a new a-hole. I won't say asshole.
No, we can curse. We're not home. We can curse.
We're not home. We're at somebody else's house. But my point is like, it's just the macro environment might seem like a company like this won't do well, meaning like if everything is going bad, oh, maybe solar won't do well. No, the fact that energy is exploding and gas prices are becoming even higher in the whole conflict in, wherever the conflict is in Ukraine, all these issues are just helping propel companies like Enphase even further. So I'm not sure 2023 will be as bad as everyone thinks for Enphase, maybe for everybody else. So any chance you get to buy this company on a dip, like honestly, I implore everybody to look into it because like you're missing out on this massive opportunity for the next decade. It's kind of crazy if you do.
Are you invested, Amit? Have you bought any Enphase?
No, because it feels very expensive right now.
Oh, that now, of course, but you didn't buy any in the 140s, 150s, all the way up?
No, I think Vitaly told me at 150. This was March, and I didn't buy, and so didn't get a chance to get in there. But I guess let's transition then into the current valuation. What is the PE right now of Enphase?
I mean, we should just bring it up. Bring up the actual current.
Before we even get into that, one of the reasons why I personally am so bullish on this company is because in a former life, I worked as an alarm installer. I was a partner in a company that installed alarms, burglar alarms, fire alarms, camera systems. Enphase does not necessarily sell their product directly to customers. They need a third party to install these systems onto people's roofs. And every single installer that we've spoken to, okay, they've all said that it's the only brand that they use predominantly. They'll use other brands if they are forced to. But I think that's I can't underscore that enough. I mean, do you understand what that means? What that means is that basically anyone that wants to get solar installed will most likely have an Enphase system. Why? Because it's easier for the installers, and the installers are the gatekeepers. So really, you know, one of the guys commented on our video saying, what would be your thesis break for a company like Enphase or Tesla? What would break my thesis is if installers found another company that they wanted to use. These installers don't ever want to come to your house again. I want to go to your house, I want to install the system, and then I want to leave and never see you again and collect whatever, a monthly service contract, right? I never want to come there for repairs, and I never want to have to do anything else. I just want to keep making that reoccurring revenue. So unless another company can come along that can provide that service better, it's a moat. It really is a moat, because these companies, they just want to install and be out, right? So that would probably be my only thesis break for them would be.
And these installers, they only like using Enphase because of what exactly?
Well, because they like the product, right? Because they believe it's the superior product. And also in terms of servicing, it's incredibly reliable. And look, as someone that used to be the guy, I get called out to a house, there's a problem there. I don't call, you know, I have to call the manufacturer. I have to call the company sometimes if I can't fix it. If the problem wasn't with my install, but the problem could be something wrong with the device, I have to call the company. Every hour I'm there, right? I'm billing, right? So I want to get in there and get out as quickly as possible.
Well, you know, every hour there, you're losing money.
Right, the company's losing money because they can't put me in another install, and
right.
you could be charging the customer, say 75, 80 bucks an hour, right? So nobody wants me there for more than an hour or whatever it is. So if I call Enphase and I'm waiting for 15 minutes, that really does turn into a lot of money, especially if you've got hundreds of systems installed. So that's why Badri, the CEO, was talking on one of their last earnings call about how they were able to reduce the answer time. So if an installer's on a job and he calls up and says, "Hey, I'm on this job site. Here's the thing," and Enphase dials in, it's great if I can get them on the phone in a minute. These are things that you can't make an ad for, right? Like you don't do a press release on this. It's not exciting, and maybe shareholders or the investment community at large won't understand this. But if you do understand it, that is a dog whistle telling you the company's position in this growing market is really sound, man. It's really, really sound, separate from like their product. You know what I'm saying?
I just want to add to what he said. So we talked to a bunch of installers, and hopefully you can put a couple of links to the actual installer interviews somewhere.
Yep.
Because they say, look, every time I have to, they call it a truck roll. Every time I have to roll a truck, I'm losing money. So one of our installers, actually these guys from Australia, what was his name? What was
I forgot. Two guys, yeah, those two guys. They're cool dudes. I forgot. I can look it up.
Okay, well, if you can cut out that I forgot their names, that would be bad. But
we're leaving it in. We're leaving it in.
But yeah, leave it in. Go ahead. But basically, if you listen to that interview, the reason they like Enphase is because there's two companies. I just want to go back and reiterate this part. There's two companies that dominate 80% of this market, 90% of the market. It's
SolarEdge and Enphase.
That's it. Okay, there's no third company. Tesla, you think, has some market share. It's like 1%, 2%. It's like nothing, okay, in this particular thing. So SolarEdge and Enphase are the guys underneath the panels. That's it. Two companies. So even if you hate, let's say you hate Enphase and you bought SolarEdge, you probably will still do well. But honestly, if you just want to hedge, you buy both. Okay, but besides that, Jake and Daniel are the guys from Australia who basically said, they did some stats back. This is back 4 years ago or so. They were using SolarEdge products in other companies, and they had more truck rolls, and it cost them more money to actually go out and service these other systems. So after they did the numbers, they actually went through it and did the math. They said, "Oh my God, Enphase, I think it was like under 1% or around 1% or under." I forgot exactly what he said. You can listen to the interview. That their products don't fail. And the other thing, the product is decentralized. This is so important. And Carlos mentioned it in the beginning, but if one of your microinverters goes down, this is key. You have like 20, 30, 40 others, depending on the number of panels you have on your roof for Enphase. So you've lost, let's say 1% of your system, 2% of your system. If SolarEdge, if their main inverter goes down, you've lost your whole system. That's it. And then you have to get the guy out there who can't come out immediately. It might take a week, 2 weeks, a month. I know guys with SolarEdge in my neighborhood. It took them 3 months during the pandemic, especially, to get somebody out there to fix it. They didn't want to come because there's no benefit for them to show up. But if you have one microinverter out, then okay, if it takes a couple of weeks, you even as a customer are not that worried because the majority of your system is functioning and Enphase doesn't look, and the installer doesn't look, forget about Enphase, the installer doesn't look like an a-hole basically, right?
Also, do you remember how much Jake and Dan get paid from Enphase to do those calls? Remember that?
He did mention was it 100? I forgot.
It was like, I thought it was 150 an hour or whatever it was, plus the cost of the inverter. Like literally, they're printing so much money and they want you to be happy that like you call them up and an inverter goes bad. Like inverters do go bad. So they have one in out of every several thousand or whatever it is that goes bad. They'll replace it and then give you a credit for your hourly rate. It was something like that. It's been a while.
They'll actually pay the installer for the actual install while under warranty. Something like this. While under the warranty that the inverter can be replaced, they'll pay the installer. I don't know if this happens exactly in the United States. We didn't ask our United States installer. But in Australia, that's what they do. So I just want to make that clear. Either way, like the actual bullish case, forget about the stock price and all that. The bullish case for this is crazy. Even if it's 4% penetration of solar, do you not see a world where solar is 30% of the country in terms of energy? Do you not see that world happening at some point? I don't know if it's 10 years from now or 20 years from now. I'm not saying it's immediate. In fact, I do think it's, by the way, it's been 10 years. But still, let's say it takes longer than that. The point is, this is an obvious growth story. I don't have to think hard about this whole thing. It's happening.
It feels very inevitable. It feels like there's not the devil's advocate for us not going solar is what the Republicans win or something, and they make it wait a little bit longer. But like it's gonna happen, right?
You had a birthday recently, right?
I did. I turned 25. Yep.
Happy birthday! You turned 25. Okay, so what year were you born?
97.
Okay, you born 97. Okay, here. Okay, so 25. Okay,
just out of the cradle, baby.
You still got the plastic on you.
Still got the plastic on you. So I'll whenever I buy my first house, I'll probably get it solar as well. Why would I want to fucking, go through?
Well, if you're smart and you move to California by then, if you'll get a new construction, you have to have solar.
That's true.
No, okay, so 25. So 25, you're 25 years old. Okay, so look at what was around in 1997. What were we doing? 1997. What was that? That was
Good Will Hunting came out.
Good Will Hunting came out. That was like that was Nintendo 64, right? Nintendo 64.
That was Ask Jeeves's big year.
Ask Jeeves, Dogpile, okay. So I'm just saying, like, think about all the other technologies that were around, say, when you were born, and look at where they are now. Just like video games. Look how far video games have advanced, right? You look at like Moore's Law and stuff. So if you just fast forward to by the time you're 50, I'm not even saying 65. This is not even like throw it in your IRA. This is like just double your age right now. Do you really think we're still going to be like on gas vehicles? Do you think that not every house and every commercial installation is going to have solar panels, that they won't be ubiquitous everywhere? Like really think 25 years from now at the rate, because it's not just that things change, but the rate that they change. It's that exponential adaptation, right? So just think about where, by the time you're 50, you know what I mean? You look at your portfolio, you put $1,000 into Enphase now. What do you think that's going to be in 25 years? It's a ridiculous. Think about 25 years ago, you put 1,000 into Apple,
You know what? There was a funny stat which I couldn't believe. The chart master. Okay, remember the chart master? We talked about him on CNBC.
The chart disaster.
The funny thing is, he showed Apple. If you put, not even in 1997, if 2001, you put, I think it was like 10,000 into Apple. I think it was. Oh, I'm sorry, 100,000. If you put 100,000 in 2001, when I sort of got my first job around that time, wasn't thinking this way, of course. He said it's worth $57 million right now.
Wow.
100 grand. I can't even believe it's true. Like, I just like, it's like, is that true? Like, I have to go.
I wonder if you put 100 grand into pound here, how much it'll be worth in the next
around 25 grand.
Wait, you put 100,000? Yeah, it'll be worth about 2 Doge.
It'll be worth a philosophy class.
Well, okay, like I don't want to bring a pound here because it's such a waste of time. So let's continue.
No, we're gonna end up fighting.
So hold on.
We're gonna end up fighting.
So the PE is 137 on Enphase. Why should we not short this stock at 137?
So shorting it is okay. It's different if you think a stock is going to go down. I understand the inclination is maybe I should short it because you might think it's going to go down. Okay, whatever. You might make money in the interim. Look, it might actually drop. But I look at it the other way. As it drops, I want to be a buyer of quality. I don't want to be thinking about my put getting money. So it's a different way of thinking about this, that we know the quality of this business, okay? Just think about the fundamentals for a second and not the actual market. I know the market sometimes gets intertwined and we get lost in the weeds, that we're in this weird environment. So all stocks might go down. Enphase might go down too. But I want to think of it as a long-term investor. What happens when they recover? What happens to a company like Enphase? And will I be able to time this short on Enphase? Will I be able to time that to get out, to buy back in, to make sure I get that run up that's happening definitely over the next couple of years, 4 years, 5 years? I don't want to miss that part of it, where my 10Xs come from, just to get my 30%. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't care about the 30%. I care about the 10X. So Jeremy's whole philosophy, and this is the most shortable stock, we can talk about him now, like literally the worst call he's made, besides buying tattooed garbage, besides buying more Meta, which I bought, also garbage, besides buying a Corsair, which is not even a growth company, and buying Dropbox. Like, this guy has no sense of actual quality companies. Instead, he should be thinking, oh shit, Enphase is dropping, or it's going to go down basically because the market's tanking. I should be trying to go long this company because I understand where this is going. And he doesn't understand all of that. So when you talk about shorting something like this, it's just totally stupid. You don't short something like this. Like,
so I get your point. Like, he and probably other investors don't understand the story, just like I didn't get it in March. I'm starting to get it now. But the PE at 137, like, why does that make sense? That's my question.
I have what I think is a simpler answer to that question. Okay. If you're shorting a stock, you can short it for what, up to 2 years, right? That's what you're saying. You can short it up to 2 years. Look, these are okay in the long-term time horizon of a company like this. 2 years, they could have a bad 2 years. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get where they're going. But what you're talking about is trading. If you want to trade, then go ahead and trade it. Trade it on the upside, trade it on the downside. Go to Atlantic City and throw some money on the roulette table. You can do that as well. But I think Vitaly and I don't think about it that way, and it might be a function of the fact that we're in our 40s. I'm not looking to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I would say don't short it is because, do you think that the people at Enphase are just going to work every day trying to sell more inverters? Do you really think that that's all they're doing? If we talk about 25 years from now, what the world's going to look like then, do you not think that, like, say, every Chevron is not going to be a battery charging station and that Enphase might have a hand in that? You know what I'm saying?
So let's get into that. What I want to dissect Q3 earnings with you guys, but before we get into the numbers and all that stuff.
Before you leave, the forward PE is not 170 as you mentioned. Look at the forward PE. It's actually much more in line for Enphase's growth, which is growing at around 70%.
63.
It's growing at around between 50 and 70% a year. So if you remember Peter Lynch, he basically said if your PE growth is 50, 60, 70%, and your PE is 50, 60, 70, that is okay. If you believe in Peter Lynch's whole philosophy of investing. I do. I think he's right about this. I think it's okay to a little overpay for quality companies, because if you look at the past and you overpaid for Amazon and you overpaid for Tesla and you overpaid for Google and you overpaid for even Netflix, you're still fucking way up. Okay. If you were buying in the beginning when you were overpaying. So quality companies tend to always outperform, and bad companies, as we're learning, tend to do really fucking shitty, especially in a shitty environment. And Enphase is in a shitty environment and is outperforming. Just think about that for a second.
And their market cap at 38 billion, you guys think is like peanuts compared to where they're going.
Oh my God. How can you solve the world's energy problem at that market cap?
What do you think they're spending their money on? they're not just trying to make more inverters. They're trying to get into.
So what did they say in Q3 that they're trying to do from a product perspective that's different outside of inverters? Because you mentioned batteries and all this stuff. What else do you guys see them?
Well, they acquired, I mean, a while ago, I don't know how many quarters ago it was that they acquired Clipper Creek. So they acquired like a battery charging company, and they're trying to roll that out. And
no. Well, let's fix that. Clipper Creek is for EV charging.
Yeah.
And so you think they could play a potential role in the EV charging market?
No. Okay, so you're thinking about it wrong. You're thinking about it wrong. Okay, when you think about Exxon, what do you think of Exxon as?
Gas.
Energy,
yeah.
Gas.
I mean, but that's all they do is gas. That's why I thought.
Well, they have other businesses, by the way, that are just energy businesses. So you have to think of Enphase as that this is the new energy companies. Tesla is a new energy company. People aren't thinking about it. They're thinking about Tesla like a car business. They're thinking about Enphase like a microinverter business. Enphase is vertically integrating every part of this stack. So when I say that, there's EV charging, there's solar panels, obviously, that go with the microinverters into your roof. There's batteries for your home. They're also doing something which they want to do. I'm not sure this is happening quite yet. Energy arbitrage between houses. So imagine, and they talked about this I think in the call a little bit, but there's another video I can link your audience to, and maybe we'll include a link down there that basically they're working on this where, let's say you're a house next door somewhere in the neighborhood and you're turning on your air conditioner. Instead of going straight to the grid and burning all the oil, well, the guy, 5 blocks away is producing energy and he's doing too much during the day because he's not home or whatever. So he has batteries that are full and he's willing to sell you some of that energy. So there's a marketplace that's going to be built around all of this decentralized energy. It's happening. Tesla's actually doing it.
Tesla's already doing it. My buddy is starting to do it. My buddy in Palm Springs has 3 Powerwalls and he generates so much power. I mean, so much power. He sent me screenshots that he's like, you helped support the grid during like a blackout or a brownout. His Powerwalls will send power to the grid to help. Or like for those initial surges. You gotta understand, like the longer the distance that energy travels, electricity over wires, the more it loses. So the more like the voltage drops, the actual current.
The losses in the lines.
Right. So you lose current. You basically, it's inefficient. So if you can get some power from someone 2 blocks away, it's actually going to be more efficient than trying to get it, say, coming all the way from the grid. So it makes it much more efficient energy sharing, and it eases the load on the grid. It helps like smooth out.
And you think Enphase would be creating a marketplace for this?
They don't need to create a marketplace for it. I mean, once they have enough penetration, it's just the obvious next step. I mean, look,
they are working on it, by the way, and they've talked about it in plenty of different like calls or YouTube videos. I can give you some links.
So fast forward 10 years, okay? Enphase has, say, 30% of all of the homes in America have the Enphase inverters, and say 50% of those have an Enphase battery system. And then they also expand their EV charging network. So now let's just say that that's just the way it is. Can you imagine how much money they're going to be printing if you're an Enphase customer and they can offer you, say, a subscription service? You pay them per month for like discounts on EV charging around the world. And do you understand like how they would be able to monetize that customer over and over? Right now, the majority of the money that they're making is selling a product for money. But once it starts to get into a flywheel, and once you get into that ecosystem, just like computers are ecosystems, right? Energy would become an ecosystem. It gets hard to leave. If you have a Tesla if you have a Tesla and you want solar, you're probably going to get solar from them, right?
Right.
If you don't already have solar. So it's a way of just continuing to monetize and keep those customers in. If Enphase can work something like that, which is what they're working towards, it just becomes this flywheel. I mean, where it's money for products as well as a service. That's one of the reasons why Apple became so huge. They got you on all these services now, and the services make you buy the products, and the products subscribe you to the services. You're in.
So instead of just buying the inverter, you think they would actually like do the charging for the electricity itself?
Why wouldn't they?
Okay, I want to take it back a little bit. I think all of this is happening, but you don't need to invest because that's happening. Like, you don't have to invest because Enphase is working on basically what is it going to be called? Electricity as a service, like EAS.
EAS.
Yeah.
Energy.
SaaS never felt like sexual.
Badri, that's my acronym. It's trademarked.
Yes.
Okay, but forget about that for a second, because like we're going into the weeds where this is going. This is obviously going there, and Tesla's already doing this, by the way. Something very similar, where they're getting jurisdictions to do this, and Enphase wants to do this, so they're going to do this. The issue is, forget about all that. Solar is less than 4% penetration. We don't need them to do any of that. Solar just has to continue doing what it's growing at, 50% compounded a year, basically. No joke. That's what solar is growing at. Keep going in that direction, and whoever invests in those companies that are winning like this will just do well in this whole industry.
So solar is growing at 50% year over year, and you guys are telling me, with no bullshit, Enphase and SolarEdge are the only two companies that are selling the thing that without that thing, which is the microinverter, you don't have a solar panel.
Look, there's other people selling microinverters, okay? Just like what's a good example? Like there's other colas out.
Right, there's other places to get hamburgers, right? There's other places to get hamburgers, but it's like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, right? Yeah. But you have to understand, the difference is the customers don't decide. Very few, and we ask this of all the installers. Hey, do customers sometimes come to you and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this specific inverter system"? They don't. They want to.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit, right?
The installers are the ones buying these. This is not customers. So if you've got a company I mean, I was surprised that's an Australian company. How many installs were they doing a month? It was like 1,000 or something.
It was crazy.
How many installs they're doing a month? It's like 100 a week. Do you understand how many inverters they're buying? How many cases and cases and cases of these inverters they're buying? They can't even keep them stocked. So this is one of the reasons why is that it doesn't require, their business does not require an informed customer. It requires informed installers. And those are the tech guys, the nerds who understand it. And to really understand what Enphase is doing, you got to be a bit of a techie and like a nerd. And that's exactly who their customer is. It's not the end user.
Can you get into the margin profits on these inverters? Like, do they cost like cents to make? Like, are these I
don't know. They are more expensive than the competing.
I can give you a little bit about it. I don't know. Their gross margin is around 40 somewhat percent this last quarter. Was it either high 30s or low 40s? But that is, for a hardware business, these are like Apple-like margins.
Yeah. Yep.
They do have a premium product right now, by the way. It's getting as cheap as SolarEdge, but SolarEdge is a little bit cheaper than Enphase if I was to go that route. But they're just not as advanced technologically. And Elon even says it. Why is Elon giving away his patents? If you watch his last video with Ron Barron, his patents are for free. You can start a car company and do it, because by the time the patents are available and you're doing the technology, that doesn't matter. Elon's already 2 years ahead of you, right? So the 2-year-old patents don't matter as much anymore. So it's the same thing. This company is technologically superior to their other companies that they're fighting against or whatever. So there are other players. I'm not saying that there's not like another microinverter company. It's just nobody's going to use them. Okay. The point is, if you already have a superior product and you have this installer network and you have this 25-year warranty and you have something that doesn't go down, you as an installer, you're going to go try this mom and pop shop that doesn't make doesn't have all these things lined up. Like, what are you, an idiot? Like, do you want a truck roll every single time and waste your money and time? That's really hard to break. Like, that's going to be like, this installer network is sort of genius by Enphase. It's going to be incredibly hard to break by just any mom and pop shop who wants to do microinverters. It's not going to happen that way.
Right. This is interesting. This is very interesting from a lot of levels.
Can I share my screen for a second, real quick?
Yes, go ahead. You got it.
Real quick, because this is something, I think Vitaly sent this to you on the group text. This is Tony Seba. This is him. I mean, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, he sent me this long ass thing. I was just like, I'm not sure what this is.
You should watch this guy. Everyone should watch this guy.
It's such an incredible transformation. But the point is, in this, that guy, Tony Seba, discusses how solar today is already now the cheapest form of energy today. It has now become the cheapest form of energy production. So that's where we are now, 4% in 4% penetration. It's only going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And as batteries get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, you're able to store more of this power. It's a runaway train. So for those people that see the stock price today and they go, it's like at $300. Okay, fine. I mean, it's really high. I'm not saying to run out and buy it right now, because even if you look at the charts, it's still going to have some volatility, right? There's a lot of people buying in. There's selling happening. That's fine. Find a good entry point. you're not missing out on anything. Again, what was it? 100,000 in Apple in 2001 is whatever numbers of millions of dollars right now. And Enphase is really just now starting to branch out of what made them such a popular and successful company, the inverter business.
So, yeah, if you believe in the narrative that solar will win, right? Why don't you look up at some energy company market caps? Go ahead, pick any, or do a top 10 list. I think me and Carlos did it. Can you bring something up, like a top 10 list of energy companies?
It was like 90, the number one company was like 96. What was it? 96 billion?
Revenue, 96 billion in revenue.
96 billion in revenue. Yes.
Oh, in rev. Wow.
In revenue. So if you're talking about Enphase, if you're talking about Enphase, which is making $1 billion in revenue now, it just started to make over $1 billion somewhere. I forgot, 1.3, somewhere around.
Are they profitable yet or no?
Enphase, yeah, they are super profitable. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Cool.
And that's why their stock is shooting off to the moon, because not only are they growing, they're profitable at the same time. Right. So my point is that if you think Enphase's story is over at $1 billion or $2 billion in revenue, then you just don't understand the whole solar thing that's going on. Like you just can't get it in your brain. Do you know what I mean? And then you're just never going to buy this stock, because I think this one will always be too expensive. Because even if it drops to $200, I bet you, Amit, you're probably going to say, you know what, that's kind of expensive when I can get this other stock for $5. Like I can buy Palantir for $5, or I can buy Meta for 80. You're going to think that's better, but it's not. This is the winner. Okay, we're literally here. Here's a winner on a platter for you guys. Okay, take it. Go ahead.
If you don't believe in the story, the price is always too high. But
yeah, exactly.
This is what Elon was talking about on the last call. He feels like Tesla could be larger than Saudi Aramco and
yeah. So Exxon is 389 billion market cap, Saudi 2 trillion,
Chevron's 342.
Even if Enphase only reaches BP, that's still a 3x from here.
That's still a 3x, right? If they only reach BP.
And don't forget Enphase's business. If you just compare, let's say the future solar business to BP current business, which one do you think will have more leg room? How many more roofs does Enphase have? And we know how tech companies are valued too, by the way. The multiples are way higher when they're actually growing. And as we saw this whole year, they're crashing like Meta and Google because the multiples are compressing, not because they're making more money, it's because they're making less money.
Yeah.
This company is printing more money, so the multiple has been expanding. This company will always be expensive. As long as this solar story is true, that's it. It's always going to be expensive. Even if it hits $200, even if it hits 180, it's still going to be expensive. But not to buy it there is like, you're a moron. No joke.
And look, if you're on a and even if you're on the Discord, like I wasn't buying Enphase at, even as early as Vitaly was around $25-30. I bought it a bit later than that. And still throughout this all of this pain, it was like the only thing in the green.
It was the only thing. When it runs up, it runs. Like in my morning opens, I always catch Enphase green.
It just held. It didn't even. It was one of those really stable things in the portfolio. So, I mean, in terms of just even in terms of that, right? If you're worried about like any volatility, it's not as volatile as some of the other stocks. They're in a really good position in their industry, but also in terms of as a stock, they don't make too much noise. They're also not like a boring dead company. They just play things the right way. Like I don't see them on social. They're just doing their thing. And I really think it's because the only people that they really need to care about them and understand what's happening is that installer network, And
can you talk about the CEO? What's Badri? His name? Badri. Can you talk about him? Do you think he's the guy to take us to the promised land?
We'll talk about the original CEO.
Yeah, I forgot the original CEO's name. He was a terrible manager. Great idea. The original CEO was like actually a co-founder. They started Enphase, I think, in 2009 or so. By 2016, Enphase was basically on bankruptcy. You could have bought it for, if you look at the chart, 60 cents. I don't know what it was. It was like 70 cents. We looked at it recently.
In the video we were doing 63 cents.
And then what happened was TJ Rogers. Everyone should research this mofo, okay? TJ Rogers, who did Cypress Semiconductor back in the day, a billionaire, and maybe he's in here somewhere. See if you can find TJ Rogers to show. That's the CEO, Badri.
I think everyone knows what TJ Rogers is, but
no, I don't think they do. I mean, even until Enphase, I really did not know who TJ Rogers was until I started researching. And people in our Discord. Yeah, TJ.
We were doing a video on Enovix.
That guy with the teeth, TJ Rogers.
This is TJ Rogers.
The old white guy. But
Yeah.
basically, this motherfucker. Okay, I'll say it. It's on your podcast. Listen, this guy knows what he's doing, man. I'm not kidding. In fact, there's another company everyone should check out, which we're starting to like research, called Enovix. He's also a big player in that company, and the only reason I'm actually invested in this other company because he brought Enphase back to life. So around 2016, 2017, he put I forgot how many millions he put into it because Enphase was dying at $1 or so. He bought a bunch of stock. He took it over, basically, put his own people in, like Badri from his other companies, put great management. And look what happens. Look what happens with great management. We should all learn this, that the product is not itself the most important thing. You need the product and you need the great management. So we're all learning this. Even I'm learning this because we had shitty investments in FUV, which totally tanked. Okay. So because the management is total shit.
That was totally, yeah.
When you look at good management and a good product, it really changes the narrative. And TG Rogers helped do that with Badri because he put him into that position. And dude, they're killing it.
But what Amit's asking you for is, but can he write poetry?
No, he can't write any poetry.
Well, no, I'm asking,
Badri, can Badri inspire you?
Yeah.
Is he an operator? Is he an operator?
He's an operator. That's right. He's the numbers guy. He's going to work it out where they make money. So his whole job is to make sure that Enphase always prints money. Not only that, he buys stock at opportune times. He was buying stock at 150, by the way, okay, when it was crashing. He's not buying stock now at 300, just FYI. So unless he comes out with a quarter and he says so, but he says our valuation internally is around, I think it was 160, 170, like a couple of months ago. And that's where they were buying stock at. So he's a smooth operator, man. He knows what he's doing. He's not wasting money. He's not wasting anybody's time. He's printing tendies. He's not growing faster, meaning like he's not just spending to grow. He's spending and growing more than he's spending. Sort of the Elon Musk model where every, like, I forgot what it was, Ron Barron said it, but every billion Elon Musk puts into a company, he gets $2 billion out of it. So this is very similar, that Enphase is doing similar things. And honestly, like, we have to buy these types of companies. Like, we cannot be buying like just trash companies that are losing money hand over fist and expect them to do well. And look, I'm invested with you like in a company like SoFi, and I know we had Palantir in common a while back, not anymore, thank God. But those companies are not going to do well for a long time because they burn way too much money and they're not going to be profitable for a long time.
And interest rates, this environment is not going to reward them at all.
That's right. And the market will not reward them. So if they have to dilute shareholders, it'll be at shitty stock prices, way, way lower, and it'll be worse for all of us. When Badri does it, man, he's doing it with a higher share price, so it's not as bad. And he's not doing it. They're buying shares back now. So just FYI,
they've been buying shares back. Wow.
Yeah, didn't they?
For the last couple of years.
Of a stock buyback.
Interesting.
Yeah. I forgot how much they had on the books for buybacks, but it's a lot. They're buying back a lot of shares right now. But he's saying he's buying it at opportune times.
So if you had $1 million and you have to pick one stock in the stock market, this would be the stock you both choose.
Oh, absolutely. Even now, I would just, if I had no Enphase, by the way, I have Enphase, so I'm not rushing in at these higher levels. I was buying it from 20 all the way up to 200, by the way. I never stopped buying it. And then it tanked to 150, 140 when we were talking, and I bought it again. So I'm a heavy believer that the growth story of this is massive. So anytime, any big dips that will happen in this environment, let's say in a month or 2 months, whenever, and I hope it hits that $200, 180. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for under 200. If it doesn't happen, I have shares. But if I didn't have any shares and I knew where this solar thing was going, which I feel I do know with Carlos, I think we're pretty confident on the solar thing. Like, okay, so it's worth 40 billion. I get what you're saying. It's kind of pricey. The PE is, let's say even 70 forward. But we notice growth companies like this, even in this environment, how are they doing so well even in this environment? Yeah. Like, you got to think about that real hard. Why are they doing so well while everybody else is doing so bad?
Because it doesn't matter, like the consumer price index, like none of that stuff matters to them because they make their money off of installers that then charge customers, right? And those installers go to work every day trying to sell systems. So
I think you're saying the installers
access to a different way.
It's because the customers want solar now. Everybody wants solar. Even people who don't have solar are thinking about solar now. Okay, so this is all happening at an increased pace. And if you look at that video, Carlos put up what was the guy's name again? Tony Seba.
Tony Seba.
You should watch his 3-part video because he goes into all the charts about what's actually going on with solar. He's saying basically within 5 years, like gas is dead. Like that's it. EV cars are taking over. Gas is dead. Just the cost curve has nothing to do with anything else because you like it or you hate it. The cost curve of a solar and batteries is dropping like a rock. It's exponentially going down. Gas is not exponentially going down, okay? And ICE vehicles are not exponentially going down. What EVs are, batteries are, solar is. So I mean, come on, people, get with the program. This is happening whether you want to or not. So I don't know what else to say. Enphase went for the win.
But also,
to
personally answer your question, if I don't believe in that whole like, oh, if I had $1 million and only one stock, but if I had $1 million and it could only go into one stock, I would go into Tesla. It wouldn't be Enphase. But if it's just on a personal level, I just feel like they will actually be a 3, 4, 5, $10 trillion company at some point. And so if I had to put $1 million in there to grow, that's where I would go. Because of just how many.
I would say split it. If I had,
if I could split it, but I'm saying if I had to, I'm saying you could only put it in one. But if I had to split it, look, put it like this. I did sell. I sold some Bitcoin and some Ethereum when it was pretty high. And the only 2 stocks that I bought was Tesla and Enphase. And I did split it 50-50. And that little 50% that I put into Enphase bought me a Tesla.
Wow.
It's not a joke. Listen, this is not a joke. So when we talk about this stuff and I'm like, how did you not buy at $150? Like, what were you doing with your money? I mean, it like part of me is like upset at that like you didn't buy. I mean,
yeah,
like,
I didn't get it as much. I mean, it was a 5-minute conversation with Vitaly. Really, I guess. Conviction. Yeah.
But it's like, look, I mean, you do whatever you want. But if I'm 25 years old right now and I have the runway, you have so much runway. You can have so much more patience than like guys like me and Vitaly do. I don't know.
I mean, you guys have convinced me. If I have to admit it here, it's absolutely, especially the solar penetration.
Convinced you last time. I convinced you like 6 months ago when you didn't.
Yeah, but 6 months ago, I didn't care too much. Now I get like now with the market drop. Also, the market wasn't as like now I've started to internalize the market has crashed and I need to figure out where to allocate capital. Like that's really what I've been internalizing over the past couple of weeks. And I'm like, I have a decent amount of capital I can allocate. I'm in cash. I just not throwing it anywhere. That's actually the selfish reason I wanted to do this again. Like in the back of my head, I've been thinking about Enphase. I'm like, all right, it'll be good content, but also I want to get an understanding of the thesis a little more.
You bring up a good point. I think anyone that started investing in 2020 might just think that the stock market only goes up and to the right.
Yep.
And I think now this is a real wake-up call. When you're like, how could that company drop 80, 90%? Oh, it could drop 80, 90, 95%. And I think now people are like, oh shit, maybe I got to be smarter about what I invested. Maybe I should research them a little bit more. Maybe it's not about what some random dude on YouTube said. Maybe I should go to Seeking Alpha and like look up some of this shit. And so if anything else, if nothing else, then this time right now is a great time to educate yourself. We already know that the Fed's not going to make a pivot until the next meeting or the next one. So we're probably going to be in the shits for another 6, 7, 8 months, maybe another year. This is a great time to do what you're doing right now, to talk to people and really figure out so that you can invest.
That's why I wanted to do this. Yeah.
I do want to end it with, you have a SoFi channel that you guys talk about SoFi all the time, which is weird. That company, I own SoFi shares, me and Carlos do, in fact. They're not going to do well for a long time, by the way. Especially with the interest rates and the loan thing. There's so many
banking right now. You don't want to be in banking.
Banking, like it's literally like the worst stock to have right now. And I'm sorry I ever bought it. I bought it at $12, by the way. So I'm sitting down. Would I be buying more now? No. And the reason is because there's actually quality companies going down now. Okay. Enphase has dropped a little bit, not as much as I want, but still I'd rather buy Enphase. And on top of it, we're talking about Tesla is cut in half right now. Tesla is literally half the price, still growing at 70% a year, or let's say 50% right now. That's the big story.
47%, right?
Yeah, it was 50%.
Only 47%, Elon?
Yeah, I think the market got upset because it was 47%. But this is an opportunity. This is not something to be afraid of. Like when quality stocks drop, we want them to drop because we want more of those. When Palantir drops, when SoFi drops, even when Meta drops, I'm not excited as I am when Enphase or Tesla drop. Because I've been waiting with cash on the sidelines for those 2 stocks. That's it. That's all I want is those 2 stocks. And that's why my portfolio is 80, 90%. I know we have all these conversations like I bought some Meta, I bought some of this, but honestly, that's almost an insignificant amount. Those can go to zero as long as Enphase and Tesla do what they're supposed to do. I will not even care what Meta does. It won't even matter.
Yeah. No, you can count your profits in the metaverse. It's totally fine. I gotta go. I gotta end this one, but this is good. This was really good. And I am gonna be putting money into Enphase just soon. I'm gonna wait for the right entry price, but I think 250 would
It's
be
called
like the starting.
DCA, buddy. Just
Did you
DCA.
see Amit's body language as he said he's going to buy?
Yeah, he's like,
he did this whole, he did this thing and was like looking off, and he was like, "Oh, he's gonna
Like,
really
he's
buy
Like
it."
I said, I'm gonna buy, but honestly, Alex Karp is where my money's going to.
yeah,
That was
the worst stock in the stock market.
All right, this was good stuff. This is awesome. No, I think it'll be really good for a lot of people to understand it.
All right,
All
here's
right.
the picture for your thumbnail. Let's get the picture for the thumbnail.
All right, awesome guys. See you later.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.